Hey everyone, I'm Crystal Jagrup, the founder of Book of Bijou, a line of chic and innovative jewelry storage. And in 2022, we expanded into our Empowered by Women platform to create a centralized space to really focus on our mission of women empowerment and community over competition. It really truly does fill my cup to be surrounded by all of you incredible women entrepreneurs. You guys fuel me with so much more motivation to continue doing what I'm doing. And your energy that you bring to me and our platform on a daily basis is truly unmatched. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here with me today. Before we jump into the episode, please make sure that you are subscribed and following us on whichever platform you're tuning in with us today, and sharing your favorite episodes with your fellow business babes or female founders so we can continue growing our platform and furthering our mission. All right, let's jump into the next episode with another incredible woman in business that I know you guys are going to absolutely love. Today, we're speaking with the incredible Carrie Vee. She is a motivational speaker, a blogger, a coach, and the host of the Coffee and Tea with Carrie Vee. She's also an incredible author. So I am so excited that Carrie is joining us today. Carrie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is a pleasure and a joy, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I feel like you have so much value that you're about to bring to our audience. So I'm so excited to dive into it. I really wanted to start off by reading your bio from your website because I read it and I was like, this is just so powerful. It's like literally two sentences, but I was like, I love this. So let me go ahead and read it. Carrie, who goes by Carrie Vee, specializes in helping struggling dreamers move from a life of unproductivity, fear, guilt, anxiety, and resentment to a life of power, gratitude, and action. She helps you define the mental and emotional blocks that are holding you back from living the life you dreamed of. That is incredible what you're doing. So,
Thank you.
can you give us a little bit more background and insight into what you offer and what it is exactly that you do?
Yes, I will take that back a little bit into my why because it does explain what that I do. When I was studying for my MBA, and during that time, my brother, we're going back to 2007. My brother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and we were very close. It was one of those, like when I was a little girl, I would dream of growing up and having conversations with him about our childhood and sit around and drink coffee, and our kids would be laughing and the grandkids would be laughing and we'd be talking. And when he was diagnosed with this cancer, I realized that things were going to shift dramatically in our lives as a family. And he fought that cancer for 3 years. We had one good year. And in 2010, we did lose him. And a week before he died, he took my hand and he said to me, "You are hiding behind a corporate desk. You're hiding your gifts. You're hiding why you were put on this earth. Promise me that you will spend the rest of your life helping others choose more life while they still have life to choose. My life is over, but you can go out there and do what you are actually called to do." And I promised him that I would do this, and I had no idea how I was going to. And so I just started taking a step every day of how I could step into this promise and then help others choose life. How could they be the most productive? How could they tap into their passion? How could they really know what their purpose or purposes are for being here? How could I help people step into their life? And as I started on that journey, I read whatever I could. I did whatever classes I could take, anything I could do to figure out how to help others have the same passion that my brother poured into me while he was on his deathbed. And that journey brought me into a life of coaching and speaking and writing books. And I developed that method called the Radical Empowerment Method as I walked through my journey of choosing gratitude and choosing forgiveness and learning how to grieve and learning how to change my path, learning how to self-correct while I was on my journey. And I took all of that and put it into a method. And that is what I pour into others as I'm helping them, choosing happiness, choosing joy, choosing to be grateful, no matter what is going on in your life. And no matter what happens, standing up every single day and starting all over again if you have to, and choosing that resiliency.
That is incredible. And the world absolutely needs people like you. And
Yes.
100% we're going to dive into it. But I know that you are changing lives left and right. So, first, I wanted to start off by saying that I am so sorry for your loss. I'm so close to my family. So, I can only imagine the heartbreak that you've felt and are feeling. So, I'm so sorry to hear that. But I am glad that it's kind of propelled you into this life that you're in now and you doing what you're doing because you are doing such important work.
Thank
You mentioned that your prior career path before your brother passing, you were in the corporate life. So, what was your background? What were you doing?
When my brother was diagnosed with cancer, I was working in the corporate America field, which is where I had been for years. I worked as a general manager. Well, I started as an office manager, worked my way up to general manager, and I was working for an architectural firm at the time. And they offered to send me back to school to get my MBA so that I could take them even further. I could learn more skills. And when they offered to send me back for my MBA, my heart said, don't do this. This is not what you love doing. You love being on stage, presenting, singing, encouraging, motivating. And my heart was saying, Carrie, don't do this. And my head was telling me, don't do this. And out my mouth, I heard the words, sure, I'll do that. The ever present people pleaser that I used to be in that corporate field, and just the yes man, doing whatever my bosses asked me to do to get their businesses moving forward. I think corporate America is a great place if it is where you are called to be. It is not where I was called to be. And working in that corporate field for decades took a toll on me. I would say it just dragged me under the waves because it's not where I was supposed to be. And no matter where you are, if it is not where you are supposed to be, if it is not your genuine path, it's going to pull you under and leave you feeling empty.
100%. And I do think that is something that hinders a lot of entrepreneurs because we do feel that obligation to do what other people are saying that we should be doing, even though in the back of our minds and like deep down at the bottom of our hearts, we are feeling that pull to do something else, right? But then
Yes.
there's that fear of taking the leap. And that's often where people get stuck.
Yes.
But you do seem like you have such a natural gift what you're doing, and I'm so glad your brother saw that light in you and that he encouraged you to do it. I also am glad that you mentioned that you were a singer. You've always been the stage presence. I had the opportunity to listen to a few of your podcast episodes and heard you singing, and I was like, oh my God, this she is good.
Thank
So
you.
great to know that that was a part of your past life, and you've shared that incredible voice with the world, and you're not hiding it in your
Thank you.
podcast, but it has had its time on the stage. Love that. Can you kind of go back again to the beginning of when you started this? Because obviously your brother passing away, that is an incredible, huge life event.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to kind of obviously like you're forever going to be grieving, but how long did it take you to process that? And what was kind of like that final pivotal moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this tragedy into something really incredible? Like, tell us about that process.
When my brother died, it was it, it was it was a time of a lot of tears and a lot of laughter. My dad taught us that even in the midst of grief, it was okay to laugh. He taught us that when his mother died years before my brother died, and when my brother died, that it was okay to remember the good times and laugh. And that really helped us grieve because we could remember the good times and mingle those tears with the laughter. My brother was so funny. I can still hear his laughter in my brain. And a few months after he died, I had a dream. And in this dream, my brother was sitting in a restaurant and I walked into the restaurant. His back was to me, but I knew it was my brother. I could hear him talking. I could hear that laugh. I could hear his voice, just that he could cross his legs and twist his feet around each other. I knew it was him. And I kept calling his name and he was totally ignoring me. And I finally went and stood in front of him and I planted my hands on my hips and said, "Why won't you talk to me? Billy, I just miss you. I want to invite you to our house for dinner. Why won't you talk to me?" And he said to me, "Because I died. Don't you remember I died? I'm only here to give you a message. Life is short, little sister. Choose wisely. Life is short, little sister. Choose wisely." That was the moment. I mean, I woke up, bolt straight up in bed, and that was the moment that I knew that it was time to make changes. And it was time to take that grief and let it become a motion forward rather than an emotion of staying stuck. He gave me that message. It is now my trademark message. Life is short, choose wisely. And choosing wisely to me and what I work with people on is choosing wisely means choosing the path that you were created to follow in the first place, instead of letting others decide for you, being the real version of yourself rather than a fake version that someone else created for you to follow. And it was that moment that I realized our choices matter so much. And what I realized my brother was telling me was, I made choices in my life to give up things to please someone else. Don't make that same mistake. You have this opportunity to move forward. Now go do it. And it's not that the grief disappeared. It never does. It never does. A few years after my brother died, I lost my dad. And in 2020, at the end of 2020, I was diagnosed with the same cancer that took my brother. And then we found out we had a genetic disposition. I can't remember the exact term for it, but we had this genetic thing going on in our family, which explained all the cancer deaths. I had my mom tested. She was living with us 19 days after that test when they found Lynch syndrome and cancer. She died in my arms from cancer. And then less than a year later, my aunt. So this grief piece is a part of my life in regular intervals. And each time there is a lesson that we can choose to let the grief pull us under, or we can choose to let that grief become more of a power to get the message out there that we do have an end date, and none of us knows when it is. But we have the choice today. If we woke up today, we have all day to make great choices, or we have this moment to make great choices. But we tend to think that life just keeps going on, and it doesn't. And that has become very, very clear to me over the past few years, that our choices matter. And the greatest choice is to serve others and let that be the catalyst for moving forward. Let's hold each other up.
I am just in awe of your strength for all of this heartbreak that you've had to experience and all of this loss. And I mean, just while you were talking about it, my heart just kept breaking more and more for you. But going back to that dream that you had of your brother, as heartbreaking as it was almost like a blessing
Oh,
in the
yeah.
same respect. I want to know, like, what were the steps that you took to kind of keep pushing through that? Because typically all that loss is such a hindrance to people to want to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
that idea that life is short and that life is going to end is something that I think a lot of people don't like to really think about and to really
Yes.
accept. And they do think they have all this time in the world to pursue their dreams, but they don't. What steps did you take to kind of overcome that feeling of helplessness? And what steps do you share with all of your clients to help them, as you said, choose wisely and choose something that's more authentic to them?
Yeah. I call them my B attitudes, the BE dash attitudes, who we are becoming, those attitudes of becoming. And in choosing to keep moving forward, despite the waves that came crashing and just kept crashing, it was a choice to become, to step into that power. And stepping into that power is not doing. And I think a lot of people people think, well, I'll write more, I'll speak more, I'll do more. But that gets you only so far. In the process of doing, we must focus more on who we're becoming, because the doing eventually starts to ring hollow and starts to ring empty. But if we are focused on who we're becoming, then the resiliency piece falls into place. And I focused on being grateful and being hopeful and being joyful. And if I could work on those three things, the actions would fall into place. To wake up every day and be grateful, and to go to bed at night and journaling down three things I was grateful for that day. And some days, all I could come up with was that I was grateful for a pillow and a blanket and my toothpaste. It was sometimes so hard to grab onto anything that I could verbalize because the grief would wash over me. But I wrote it down. And in the morning, I would get up and journal three things I was grateful for in waking up. And that, when that started to become a part of my life, I started to become a more resilient person. And the same with being hopeful. Waking up every day with the hope that there would be even 1 second in the day that would be a step forward for me in my life. And being grateful and being hopeful and then being joyful, actually looking for pockets of happiness in the day. And if I couldn't find them, taking the time to create them for myself. Maybe picking up pom-poms. I literally ordered a set of pom-poms from Amazon. And if I couldn't find anything that was happy in the day, I'd pick them up and shake the pom-poms and create my own happiness. And when I started to do those three things, the fog would lift and the grief would lift just enough that I could take a step forward. And the next day it would lift more. And the next day it would lift more. So I focused on those becoming attitudes rather than what can I do? It was who can I become? And that's how I help people, even now in coaching sessions or speaking from stage. Who are you becoming? Because that's far more important than what you're doing.
That's such great insight, because it definitely is a common tactic for people to want to just fill their time, but absolutely be versus do. I think people just do and do and do, and they're like, well, I'm doing all these things, but nothing is changing.
Yes.
But what are you really focusing on? You're just letting time pass by, but you're not really doing anything for you. You're not doing anything that's authentic to you. And I think when you are focusing on being whatever person or image you have of yourself for the future, like that is the key there, and what changes what you're actually doing and the impact of it.
Yeah.
So such great insight. I
Thank you.
also love that you mentioned gratitude so much, because I 100% agree. And it's
Yeah.
something that I try to incorporate in my daily basis too, because it changes the whole like trajectory of your day when you're just grateful for what you
Yes.
have and for the opportunity to chase after the dreams that you have. So other than journaling and things like that, what are other like daily practices people can do to practice gratitude and to work with their anxiety and the fear and all these things that you're helping people with?
It boils down to loving people, serving them, and caring about them. That focus creates an extremely huge bubble of gratitude and joy and hope. When you take the focus off you and you start to reach out to others, I've made it a practice to send a card to someone every single day. It can just be one line. I was thinking about you. And I order fun, crazy stamps from USPS.com so that when I send the letter, it's got a crazy stamp, something that matches their personality. If it's their birthday, they get a birthday stamp. If something great has happened in their life, they get a congratulations stamp, or it might be a monster stamp, or it just doesn't matter. But something just that will just brighten somebody's day brings that focus so much into how much we can create joy and gratitude in our own lives. And when you're focused on serving others, it just comes into greater focus. It brings our mindset around to a mindset of peace and a mindset of positivity and a mindset of reaching out to others, being in a grocery store or in the line for a movie, or maybe sitting on an airplane and the flight attendant is coming down, making sure that everyone you come in contact with, even if you will never see them again in your whole life, making sure that when they leave your presence, they leave a better person than when they met you. Thanking them, taking the time to give an extra thank you, taking the time to remember names if it's a place where you go a lot. So I have a gentleman that I meet with quite regularly, and we call each other our peak performance partners, and we hold each other accountable on our goals. We always go to our local Panera, and we've made it a point to learn the names of every employee there. So when we go up to order, it's good morning, Carol. Good morning, Amber. Good morning, Amy. And taking the time to know a little bit about them. Amy loves to paint. She loves to paint houses. And Amber has these amazing animals. And getting to know them so that when we walk in, they're not just someone who serves us coffee, but they're people that we have formed a connection with. And they remember our names now. And it's like a joyful reunion every couple of weeks when we go in there. And you get to touch people's lives like that. And that will create such a heart of gratitude when you connect with others, when you try to connect with them, when you take the extra steps. A flight attendant on a plane, yes, their job, I'll put that in quotes, is to serve you a soda and maybe a bag of pretzels or a stroop waffle or whatever it is that they give you on the airline now. Maybe that's their quote unquote job. But when they take the step to give it to you with a smile, smile back. Or if they've let you sleep, I've been on late night flights where I'm asleep before the plane takes off. And when I wake up, that cart has long gone by. But when they come by, they'll say something to me and I will thank them. Thank you for noticing that I was sleeping. Thank you for coming back when you saw me wake up and asking. They don't have to do that. They will go the extra mile for you, but notice it. Notice when people do something nice for you, and notice when someone's in need. If there's someone behind you in line with screaming kids and you could let them in front of you to check out before you do it, let the poor mom go. I've been in that space of somebody saying, look, you've got kids. Why don't you go? Pay it forward. Do things for other people. That is the best way to bring more gratitude, more joy, more hope into your life.
Carrie, you are incredible. And you're
Thank
so
you.
inspiring. And I'm like, now moving forward, I'm always been terrible at names and I've always wanted to get better at it. But this has been like my push, like, okay, I'm going to start knowing people's names. I'm going to get to know all these people that I'm interacting with on a daily basis. I love it. You probably don't know, but I actually was a flight attendant. So I was kind of like laughing inside my head while you were speaking because it's like kindness goes out the window when people enter planes. And yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of crazy, but they underestimate how much we will pay that kindness back to you if you do show us a little bit of respect and kindness. And even just obviously, it doesn't have to be on a plane, but those little interactions, they can mean monumental things to
Yes, they
people.
can.
And people remember that and it can change their day. So love that advice. And everyone listening, just pay it forward and keep
Yes.
being kind and keep having an open heart and be like Carrie. Let's all strive to be like Carrie because you are incredible. But I want
Thank
to
you.
turn the conversation now to how great of a speaker you are. You're so poised and you're so graceful. I know you've kind of always had like that background in being on stage, but have you always been such a great speaker? And have you done anything to become even better at this skill? Because speaking is a skill that can be acquired. So how have you developed into such an amazing speaker?
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I have always been on a stage in some way. My mom and dad recognized gifts and talents in me from a very young age. And I was on stage singing with my dad long before I can even remember that I was doing it. And as I grew and I would be on stages singing, I would always introduce the song. And that's really how I started speaking. That's how I learned that I really loved connecting with my audience, not only through the music, but through speaking. And then when I decided that I really wanted to be on stages speaking, that would be my main thing, I started to study speaking. I got books and I learned about storytelling and bringing stories in. And then I wanted more training. And I did a certification through the John Maxwell Leadership and did their speaking training. And they put you on stage and they actually work with you to help you become a better speaker, because you're right, it is a skill. And I always tell people no one is born a great speaker, and all really good and really great speakers at one time were really bad. And if I could turn back the clock and if I had a recording of the first time I spoke, it was awful. And as it is with every great speaker, we learned it. Another thing I did was to join Toastmasters and just start speaking. And that opened up the doors to speak at local networking events and Rotary clubs, and any opportunity that I could get to speak, I did, because every time that I spoke, it was more practice. And then I would ask for feedback and I would put that into practice, redo the speech and give it again. And it's like every other skill you learn, it's work. But when you work at it, you get better at it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the founder of Toastmasters, right? That he was like a terrible speaker and he wanted to get better at
Yes.
speaking, and that's why he created that group or that business, right?
Yes.
That was him.
Yes, it was. It
And
was.
now he's like this renowned speaker. So it
Yeah.
absolutely is a skill that you can learn. And I love
Yeah.
that you brought up storytelling, because obviously our audience is mostly small business owners, and we need to remember that it's not really just the product that we're selling. It's us that we're
It's us.
selling. It's our story that we're selling, and that's what
Yes.
people are resonating with, and that's why people come back to continue supporting us and to continue purchasing from us. So how important do you think it is for business owners to really develop that speaking skill?
It is absolutely imperative. I don't remember who said it, but the quote is the greatest illusion of communication, or the greatest problem with communication is the illusion that it has occurred. Communication is crucial for any business owner. And most people think they have communicated and it has fallen flat. So learning how to connect to your audience, to your customer through storytelling is that connection piece. Let me know you hear me. How do I know you hear me? Connect with me. Tell me something, be authentic. It's a crucial skill in every walk of life, even for moms and kids, moms with families, leading a business meeting. Maybe you've been asked to teach a Sunday school class or speak to your women's meeting. Everyone needs to know really, really how to speak and how to connect. And storytelling does that so beautifully. When you connect with me, when I share about my brother, when I share about having cancer myself and losing my mom so quickly after her cancer diagnosis, it connects people to me because they immediately go in their head to something that was similar in their own lives. And that connection happens immediately. But so many people are afraid to be authentic and share, and that communication, that connection is severed.
What are some actionable steps, like aside from taking courses, like being in Toastmasters or something like that? What are some actionable steps people can take to start developing that skill and get past that hurdle of wanting to be authentic, but really afraid of becoming that vulnerable person in front of someone else?
You know, in the days of social media, this is easier because you can pick up your phone and record a story. You can record a video and you never even have to share it to your page. You never have to share it with anybody. It can just give you practice. You pick it up, you speak to it, and you get brave enough then to finally share one. But that is a really good step to do it. Another one would be getting a book on storytelling. There are so many out there right now, and you can learn the art of storytelling. Write out the story you want to share and practice it. Put Zoom on and talk as if there's an audience out there. You can even record it and watch it yourself. You never have to share it with anybody if you don't want to, but it's great practice. Ask a friend to listen to you. Do it. I used to speak to my stuffed animals when I was a kid. Sometimes I practice my speeches to my dog. She's always in my office. But anytime you get a chance to speak, do it. And if someone doesn't give you the opportunities, to create your own. Create your own, invite a group of 5 friends over and say, I want to share this story and I would love your feedback. They're safe. They're your safe zone. Just talk, just speak, use your voice.
I love that tip about even just recording yourself, even if you have no intention of sharing it, because
Yes.
people think that they do have to share it, right? You have
Yeah.
to go on live, you have to do this, you have to do that. But if you want to speak, like you just said, create your opportunities to speak, even if it's just to the camera or to the mirror or to
Yes.
yourself or to your dog or goldfish or whatever pet you might have.
Yeah.
Speak and create that
Yes.
opportunity for yourself. That is such a great tip because people are often putting so much pressure on themselves about how they have to go about it. We're nearing the end of our time here. So again, the work you're doing is so important. And I love that it really is coming from a place of service for you.
Yeah.
And it's about how you can help people and how you can push them, past their comfort zones and really live a life that is authentic to them and something that they would be proud of and happy about and something that they can reflect on and have all of these amazing memories for because life is short, right? And like you
Yes.
said, like your brother said, we do need to choose wisely and we do need to be very mindful about where we're putting our time. So, with all of this that you're doing, what does success mean to you?
Success means it's a couple of pieces to that. The first one would be actually having someone come back to me and say, this made such a difference in my life. This story, this story that you shared helped me realize that I could get out of bed tomorrow. To me, that is great success. Knowing that I did and do what I was called to do, that stepped into who I was called to become, and it changed somebody's life. Success to me is Success to me is perseverance. It is resiliency. That's success to me. I know a lot of people put success in a number or in a revenue stream, but to me, that's all secondary to becoming who you were put on this earth to become. So success to me is knowing that what I'm doing is making a difference.
It goes back to the impact, right?
It does. It does.
I absolutely 100% resonate with that. And I feel the same way about success. I recently posted a quote on our Instagram that success is not about how much money you're making, it's about the difference that you're making in the
Yes,
world and in people's lives. Even if it is just a single person's life,
that's right.
that difference can be such a profound difference and change the entire trajectory of
Yeah.
someone's future. So 1000 million kudos to you, Carrie, because
Thank
I've
you.
said it over and over again, I know, but the work you are doing is absolutely incredible.
Thank
So
you.
where can people find you and your books and your podcast and all of the good stuff? Because you have so much insight and value to share. And I know our audience is going to just absolutely love it.
Thank you. Everything is on my website, which is Carrie Vee with a V-E-E, carrievee.com. You can find everything on there from books, even a pair of shoes that say life is short, choose wisely, right on them. And everything is there. So connect with me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your stories. That is always the highlight of my day, is hearing the stories that other women have to share and knowing that they're finally sharing them.
Love that. Well, of course, as always, all of that is going to be linked in the show description below. But again, Carrie, thank you so much. It truly is such an honor to speak with you because I feel like you just again like have so much value and I feel so honored to have been sharing this 30 or 40 minutes with you and to be able to gain that insight not just for our audience but for myself too. I am inspired and I am going to go out there and be even kinder than I've already tried to be, but I want to start learning people's names and do all of these things that you're doing. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Another incredible interview in the books. I hope you all loved this episode just as much as I did. Before we close off, if you yourself are also a woman entrepreneur, please consider joining our women-owned small business directory on the Empowered by Women website. We are looking for product and service-based women-owned businesses based in the US to help us create the go-to place for communities to connect and support local women in business. All the details can be found at www.empoweredbywomen.com/apply-directory. That will be linked in the show notes below. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in with us today, and I'll see you on the next episode.